ready when you are.
Okay, so first question, tell us about your favorite Alaska Airlines experience.
My favorite experience is that's challenging. I think that there's just a lot of them, so it's hard to grab one for me. You know, when things go well, they go really well, and I think that's what we're looking for. I think that happens more often on Alaska, which I end up proving out by flying other airlines, and then I remember why I like Alaska so much, right? So, but I don't have a single experience I can point to. Yeah.
Okay. So what does Alaska mean to you?
Alaska still cares at a different level, and I think that really means their employees care at a different level than what I'm going to say is the historic traditional airlines. You know, I was a longtime United flyer. They're fine. Well, they're not so fine anymore, but nonetheless, I was there for a long time. I've got 1.5 million miles on them. But the attitude of their employees shines through every day, and it's not pretty. And Alaska, by and large, the employees are at a different place. They're at a different place mentally. And it comes through on the service, and that's a big deal, really big deal. The interesting thing is that I travel a lot to the east, and so I work with a lot of people who don't fly Alaska because they're East Coast based, and so they maybe have flown them once or twice. But they always ask, well, who'd you fly out on? Or I flew out, I didn't know Alaska flew here. We get that all the time. And I said, well, that's a great airline. And they're like, we've heard it's a great airline. So, I mean, there's a reputation there.
Perfect. So how important are flight attendants to your experience with Alaska?
Flight attendants are like the most important part of the puzzle, right? So you've got gate agents. They're always totally stressed. Some worse than others, some days worse than others. They have a tough job, we get that. Flight attendants with the right attitude fix all of that, because you get onto the plane, very common to be greeted by a flight attendant with a smile. It doesn't matter where you're sitting on the plane, they're there to greet you coming on. And the right attitude coming through resets the whole customer experience at that point. It's just huge. Huge opportunity there, and Alaska does a good job of that.
So why do you prefer Alaska Airlines?
I think that there's a number of things. I think the attitude of the employees is a big deal. I think the product, particularly the first class product, is very good. It's not always the most price competitive, which is a challenge at times, but I think that it's a very predictable, well-managed process, and doesn't mean it's perfect. It's not perfect, but it's good, and I'm a fan.
Okay, and I'll ask one more question. What can Alaska Airlines do to improve?
You've got to take care of employees. You've got to make sure that you keep the kind of that Alaska feel from, and I really mean that that's less about branding and that's more about employees. And if you can take care of the employees and they feel like they're an important part of the puzzle, that's a huge piece of the equation. And as Alaska continues to grow, which I think is important to be relevant, you've got to keep growing. You got to keep pushing east. You've got to make sure that you find a way to hang on to the kind of messaging that you've been able to give to your employees. If your employees give up, which I think is what's happened in a lot of the other airlines, if the employees give up and go through the motions, it's totally obvious to the customers. And then it's about one thing. Then it's about price. It's only about price, and whoever's the cheapest guy is the deal. And if air travel lowers to the point where everybody expects it to be miserable, and therefore I'm picking the least costly misery for the day, that's really too bad, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. So I think Alaska is in a great spot, but they got to pay attention, and the employees that the frontline employees we're talking about, the people that are interacting with customers, huge important piece of the puzzle.
Perfect. Awesome. I think that's good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.